This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, May the 19th, is a soccer star who's an assistant coach for Forge FC, part of the Canadian Professional Leagues. He played in the Premier League for England for many teams. He even played for Vancouver before finishing off with Nashville, Ottawa, and Forge FC being in the lower leagues. He's a Canadian soccer icon and all that. And it looked pretty impressive and all that. So, anyway, it was huge and all that. Now, this is David Edgar. He's 36 years old. And you're thinking to yourself, this guy? Why? Well, there's a reason why. Because David Edgar was a good Canadian player. And he came from, you guessed it, Kitchener! That's right. A soccer player from Kitchener, Ontario? Yes, it was true. He was 6'4" and was a center back, including defensive guys. So David Edgar was actually taken to England by his father, Eddie, to compete in a soccer tournament. And David Edgar impressed. He was even given a scholarship deal by Man-U, but he wanted to stay in Canada. And it looked good for him playing hockey and all that. But by 13, being good for soccer, he quit hockey, leveled to soccer. He was actually impressing in trials for numerous clubs, including Celtic. He was offered a scholarship to Newcastle Academy, Newcastle being a big team in the Premier League. So he left Canada and moved to Hepburn. Anyway, he would play for the Academy, and by 2003, the day after I turned 18, by the way, he played against Bradford City, making for the reserve team. Many teams wanted to sign David Edgar and all that, but Newcastle's owner said he's not for sale, and was given a new contract. Anyway, he would be called up to the main squad for the 2007 FA Premier League season and made his debut for Newcastle against Bolton December 2006. He even scored a long-range goal against Manchester United in a 2-2 tie. He was actually put in fullback position and all that because of the injuries to the first-team defenders. He did pretty well marking Cristiano Ronaldo effectively, meaning that he didn't let CR7 do anything about it. Edgar actually voiced his concern of his lack of soccer first-team stuff with Newcastle. However, he was given a run near the end of the season to play for the top team. And he did sign with Newcastle for a few years. So, anyway. Edgar, when he played for Newcastle in the 2009 season, the team was 0-11-2, which was terrible. Even worse so, Newcastle was relegated to Tier 2, aka the Championship, aka not the Premier League. So he was angry. But Barnley signed him to a 4-year deal. It looked pretty good and all that. He made his debut for Barnley against Hartlepool in the League Cup. But unfortunately, the manager, Owen Coyle, was not too happy about it. After Coyle was dumped by Barnley, Brian Laws was the new manager and put David Edgar in the lineup. Edgar would only make 4 appearances for Burnley at that one. He had a loan spell at Swansea. And Edgar thought he was going to be part of the top team of Barnley and all that. Unfortunately, he was given 8 appearances. Only 8. New manager Eddie Howe gave Edgar a chance to be the regular center back. And he scored 2 goals to help Burnley beat Hull 3-2. So anyway, he would make 49 appearances in all competitions that year. And then he was the first team regular for Burnley and all that, making 30 appearances. Burnley finally went up to the Premier League, hoping to do well for the 2014-15 season. Sadly, though, Burnley dumped off David Edgar and 3 other players. So, anyway, he would sign with another second-tier team, Birmingham City, on a 2-year deal. He looked pretty decent and all that. Unfortunately, after a key sending off, he got sent off against Bournemouth. He wasn't a first-team guy anymore. He would go through a few spells. Huddersfield, for the 2015 season, wanted him and all that. So he played 12 games for Huddersfield. Then he went to Sheffield United in League One, aka the 3rd tier of English football, for a season-long loan in 2015. Fortunately, he would have a little bit of an injury and all that. Birmingham would release him, and he actually signed a deal with Vancouver, which was amazing. That, you know, he went back to Canada to play. So he played for Vancouver. All that. Unfortunately, he was hit by a vehicle ahead of the 2017 season, injured his right knee, and he had to have surgery and out for months. Then Nashville, a USL or a minor league club, signed him to a deal for a few weeks, and then he went to Ottawa for the Canadian Professional League. No, Ottawa for USL. And then he went to Hartlepool for a short-term contract. And then he would play for Forge FC, which is based out of Hamilton in the Canadian Premier League. He ended up helping the Forge win their 2nd straight Canadian Premier League title, and he basically retired after that. And is now the assistant coach for them. All that. He was a decent youth player and all that. So anyway, David Edgar unfortunately got injured before the Under-20 World Cup, which Canada was going to hold in 2007. I don't know how Canada did that one. I know Canada got their butts handed to them. Right. So yeah, so Canada was hapless. They didn't score 1 goal the entire tournament, losing to Chile, Austria, and Congo. Even Congo, eek. Anyway, he was called up for Canada by 2011. He made his senior team debut for Canada when they lost to Greece. He was actually selected for the 2011 Gold Cup, aka the North American Championships, as a replacement for Dejan Jankovic. But he was a late addition and didn't join the team. And he was part of the 2013 Gold Cup team in 2015. So he only scored 4 goals for Canada internationally. So anyway, David's father, Eddie, actually played goalie for Newcastle and Hartlepool and the New York Cosmos. So, anyway, his now wife is Natalia, who's a Kitchener native. So they have 2 daughters in their Kitchener home. It's like amazing. David Edgar is staying true to her in Kitchener. So for Newcastle, Burnley, Swansea, Birmingham, Huddersfield, Sheffield United, Vancouver, Nashville, Ottawa, Hartlepool, and Forge, he made 269 appearances, scoring 11 goals. Wow, he's a defender after all. Yeah, so he scored 4 international goals. One against Cuba in World Cup qualification 2014, a friendly against Jamaica, a friendly against Uzbekistan, and FIFA World Cup qualification 2018 against El Salvador. Winning 2 Canadian Premier League titles. Not bad for a man from Kitchener! Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.